Theology proper is one of the doctrines under systematic theology. We have systematic theology with 10 doctrines, and theology proper is one of them. And usually we begin the 10 doctrines with theology proper, or doctrine of God. So even me, or even I, have decided to begin with this particular subject, as principal also has assigned me to do so. Okay. Now, since we all have done theological studies previously, the term theology is not a new word for all of us. But for the sake of reminding ourselves, as well as for the sake of doing justice to the topic or the subject, let us just look into it. The word theology comes from two Greek words, theos meaning God and logos meaning word. Thus, theology means word or discussion or discourse or study about God. And this particular word theology covers entire area of studies or Christian studies. And the things that we are going to look at here will also be covered by the general term, word theology. But when we say theology proper, that has a specific meaning, applying to the study about God the Father. So theology proper specifically refers to the study about God the Father. Now, in this particular subject, we shall try to cover the existence of God and the revelation of God, attributes of God, names of God, decrees of God, and even the Trinity. If time permits us, we'll try to cover them in this particular subject. First of all, I want to begin our class, our discussion with the sub-point called the existence of God. Existence of God. When we say existence of God, it seems like we are talking something against God, because it is like talking about whether God exists or not. But in one sense, it is also good for strengthening ourselves, that as we study this, as we discuss these kind of points with a positive mind, we strengthen ourselves. Okay. Having seen that, I want to look at the scripture verse, that is Psalm number 14 verse 1, and Psalm number 53 verse 1 also says the same thing. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. This verse says that fool who is abnormal, fool who is abnormal denies the existence of God. Normal person or a person with a sound mind or sound reasoning will not deny the existence of God. So anyone having a sound mind or good reasoning, on anyone who is normal will never deny the existence of God. we know that there are so many deniers. There are many people who deny the existence of God with so many reasons of their own. Therefore, apart from the biblical supports and references, if we look at some of the arguments which are logical in argument, if we use these logical arguments, then we can also defeat those people who say that there is no God, because they don't believe in the scripture itself. They don't believe in the Bible itself. So we believe, we say that Bible says so, the scripture says so, God exists, God is like this, God does like that. And then those people, some people, they will say, we don't believe in the Bible. Bible says so, that is why people believe, but we don't believe in the Bible. Some may say so. In that kind of situation, we also need to have something else apart from the scripture to to talk to them with the logical argument, with the logical way of arguing with them. When I say apart from the scripture, I don't minimize the importance of the scripture. What I'm trying to say is, for the believers, for ourselves, Bible is the strongest support, evidence for us, for the existence of God, and for any other things also. But for those people, in order to respond to those people who don't believe the Bible, for them we better go. If we go with the logical argument, then it makes sense to them. That is what I'm trying to say here. First argument here is cosmological argument, which are very common and popular. Cosmological argument, the word cosmological comes from cosmos, which means world. This argument argues that since the world exists, there must be a cause behind that world, because something cannot come from nothing. Something cannot come from nothing. World is something, and it must have come from something else, which means the world must have a cause or its maker. Every effect must have a cause. Something cannot come from nothing. So that is the argument. And that's something, and that cause behind that something, or the maker behind that something, should be not the ordinary one. Okay? Because since every effect has a cause, world also must have a cause. And that cause needs to be somebody or something which is supernatural, or which is beyond the ordinary causes. And when I say that supernatural or beyond the ordinary causes, I want to think, we want to talk about God. We want to come to God. God must be the one who has caused this world to exist. Because for God, He doesn't have a beginning. He is not caused by anything. He is uncaused cause. He is uncaused cause. And He is the ultimate cause for any other things, other existence. Therefore, God existed in the past, eternity past. God exists now, and God will continue to exist in the eternity future. So, God is the uncaused cause for this world. That is the conclusion drawn in this cosmological argument. Second argument is teleological argument. Teleological argument comes from the Greek word telos, means end. Here, this argument argues that the universe is orderly and usefully arranged. There is a useful and orderly arrangement in the universe. Therefore, there must be somebody or something who is or which is intelligent behind all these arrangements. Because such an orderly and useful arrangement cannot happen by chance. These things cannot happen by chance. It's not possible. Therefore, there must be an intelligent cause or somebody who has done all these things. And that somebody or that something needs to be intelligent one. And going back to again God Himself, because it is not possible for anything else to be intelligent. It is not possible to be anything else to do so. It is possible only with God. So God is the ultimate. God is the master designer. God is the master architect of this universe. Because such an orderly arrangement and useful arrangement can be done and possible only with God. Look at the heavenly bodies, look at the sun, moon, and an earthly natures also, how beautiful and how orderly set they are. Imagine if sun is little closer to us, we would feel more hot and we will not be able to live on this earth. So God has arranged in such a way through which we can get the required warmness for the earthly lives. So God is the one who has arranged all these things. That is the conclusion drawn by this argument. Next one is ontological argument. Ontological argument argues that man thinks about God. Man has an idea, awareness about God, naturally. So where does that awareness, that idea come from in man? That is the question. I simplify the argument here. Man everywhere, whether right God or wrong God, has the idea about God. Okay, whatever God it may be. They think about God, they have awareness about God. So God must have put that idea in man. Here this argument is like this. I think about somebody and that somebody exists. I cannot think about somebody who does not exist. I have an idea about something because that something exists. I cannot have any idea about something that does not exist. So if I think about something, that something exists. Therefore, since man has got an awareness and idea about God, God exists. God exists, that is the idea. And then next argument here is also moral argument. Moral argument says man has got the sense of right and wrong. And where does that right and wrong sense come into man? God must have put that in man, because God must be the source of that right and sense of right and wrong, based on which He will judge them one day. That is the argument here. So it is God who exists, whose existence is witnessed in the nature, whose existence is proven in the logical arguments and all these things. So we will try to talk about this more in